Welcome to the official announcement of the European Audience Film Award by the European Parliament and European Film Academy in partnership with the European Commission and Europa Cinemas, all that. I'm Domenico Laporta, I'm the editor of cineeuropa.org, and I'm a proud partner and also a great supporter of Lux since it was created almost 13 years ago. Thank you for bringing your masks inside this room. I will ask you to keep it, and I'm sure that behind your mask, you are all smiling from the same pleasure that we are having here on stage, welcoming those partners. Also different, but complementary in a very original and efficient way. They will have the opportunity to explain why. Let me remind you as well that everything here is streamed, and there's also a simultaneous translation, English-Italian. Claude-Éric will speak in French at some point, but do not panic, je parle français, and I will do the translation. So, without further ado, we will kick in this session with an introduction by David Maria Sassoli, President of the European Parliament, who couldn't travel to Venice today, but has prepared a short video introduction for us all. So can we have the video?
Buonasera a tutti, desidero salutare le autorità presenti, gli organizzatori del Festival del Cinema di Venezia, tutti gli ospiti, gli artisti che quest'oggi partecipano al lancio del nuovo formato del Lux Prize, il premio cinematografico assegnato annualmente dal Parlamento europeo a un film di produzione europea. Purtroppo le circostanze attuali non mi consentono di essere fisicamente con voi, avrei voluto esserci, ma vorrei cogliere l'occasione per ringraziare tutti coloro che in questi mesi così difficili hanno lavorato per valorizzare ancora di più questo premio. La pandemia ha sconvolto le nostre vite, le vite delle nostre società, ha rimesso in discussione molte delle nostre priorità. Le nostre economie hanno risentito molto della crisi, alcuni settori, fra i quali quello della cultura e dell'audiovisivo, hanno subito pesanti ripercussioni. Il cinema è uno strumento che non ha mai smesso di descrivere e di narrare la nostra società così complessa, ma soprattutto è una delle tante fondamentali chiavi di lettura che ci aiutano a comprendere la realtà in cui viviamo. Proprio durante questi mesi difficili l'Unione Europea ha dimostrato di avere un'anima e tante speranze. Milioni di persone hanno lavorato, si sono impegnate affinché nessuno venisse lasciato solo, dai giovani che si sono dedicati alle attività di volontariato, a tutto il personale medico-sanitario, a tutti coloro che hanno garantito servizi essenziali. Abbiamo dimostrato di essere una comunità composta da persone pronte a mettersi al servizio degli altri. In molti hanno lavorato in nome di una solidarietà nuova rispetto al passato. Abbiamo finalmente rimesso al centro le persone, i loro bisogni, i loro problemi, ma anche le loro aspirazioni e i loro sogni. Il Lux Prize è uno strumento straordinario per accompagnarci in questa nuova sfida. Il cinema europeo può insegnarci a raccontare, comunicare nuove emozioni, anche utilizzare nuovi linguaggi che rafforzino il senso di comunità che abbiamo riscoperto. È un'opportunità che dobbiamo cogliere, non dobbiamo lasciarcela sfuggire, e attraverso il nuovo formato e il nuovo regolamento il Parlamento europeo ha voluto coinvolgere fortemente i cittadini, che d'ora in poi potranno esprimersi e votare le opere cinematografiche in concorso insieme ai deputati europei. È un passo in avanti non solo nel sostenere il lavoro degli artisti, le produzioni europee così colpite in questo periodo, ma anche per incoraggiare iniziative e progetti che aiutino ad accorciare le distanze tra cittadini e istituzioni. Il patrimonio culturale, l'arte figurativa, la musica, il cinema, lo spettacolo non sono aspetti secondari, sono elementi che contribuiscono ad arricchire la nostra cittadinanza europea, a darci personalità e per questo vanno sostenuti. Il 1° settembre ho inaugurato a Bruxelles il nuovo giardino del grande artista Antoine Wiers e sono molto felice che il Parlamento europeo abbia deciso di organizzare in quel luogo una serie di concerti, non solo per vivacizzare quello spazio pubblico, ma soprattutto per valorizzare il talento di musicisti che, come tanti lavoratori del mondo dell'arte, della cultura, dello spettacolo, hanno sofferto duramente in questi mesi. Siamo orgogliosi di essere l'unico Parlamento al mondo che conferisce un premio per il cinema. Andiamo avanti così, non abbandoniamo i nostri sogni, sosteniamo la magia del cinema. Buon lavoro a tutti e spero naturalmente di incontrarvi al più presto.
Sorry. Our second intervenant is Maria Gabriel. Maria Gabriel is the European Commissioner for Innovation, Research, Culture, Education and Youth. Mrs. Gabriel is not on stage with us, but she's live behind her computer, and she will join us right now. Do we have her?
Je suis avec vous. Bonjour à toutes et à tous, Monsieur le Président, Mesdames et Messieurs, chers participants, chers cinéphiles. C'est un véritable honneur pour moi d'être avec vous aujourd'hui grâce à la technologie numérique. Je voudrais tout d'abord dire un énorme merci au Festival de Venise, parce que avoir ce festival pour la première fois après tous les festivals qui n'ont pas pu lieu pendant la pandémie, c'est un véritable signal d'espoir que vous envoyez à l'Europe. C'est un véritable parfum de renouveau, de renaissance européenne, à la culture européenne que vous donnez, et je voudrais vous remercier de tout cœur. Cela me touche d'autant plus que ce retour à la vie du cinéma est marqué aussi par le lancement de la nouvelle formule de Lux Prize. C'est un projet que j'ai soutenu depuis le départ et qui me tient énormément à cœur, parce que nous savons combien ce prix, le Lux Prize, est précieux pour nous, les Européens, pour tous ceux qui tiennent à la diversité culturelle européenne. Parce que je me rappelle encore de la cérémonie de l'année dernière et le film qui a gagné Dieu existe, son nom est Petrunia. Quel beau message, encore une fois, envoyé à l'humanité, à l'Europe, aux Balkans de l'Ouest. Je voudrais vraiment remercier et féliciter chacun de ces 130 films qui ont participé à la compétition, parce que chacun de ces films nous a donné un aperçu des destins européens entre conviction et quête d'identité. Tous ces films nous aident à porter un regard différent sur les grandes questions sociales et politiques qui nous agitent. Et en même temps, ces films mettent des visages humains sur des grands défis que nous allons affronter ensemble. Le changement climatique, l'immigration, l'intégration, la liberté ou encore nos valeurs. Donc, je voudrais encore une fois le rappeler. Aujourd'hui, le cinéma traverse une épreuve, mais je suis convaincue que nous allons la surmonter. En ce qui me concerne, je me réjouis que nous avons le programme Europe créative qui continuera à soutenir le secteur, mais je tiens ici à souligner le rôle de l'innovation. D'autant plus que le prix qui aujourd'hui nous réunit fait preuve de sa extraordinaire capacité d'innovation. D'avoir ce nouveau prix pour l'audience européenne avec des projections à travers toute l'Europe, au cinéma, en ligne, sous-titré pour tous, c'est un extraordinaire message que vous nous envoyez à tous. Et je voudrais exprimer fermement mon soutien à cette initiative parce qu'elle met pas seulement en lumière la diversité et la richesse du cinéma européen, mais elle nous permet aussi tous ensemble d'espérer plus rapidement le retour des téléspectateurs dans les salles de cinéma, de continuer à vivre ensemble de manière émotionnelle le cinéma. Et je pense que c'est un symbole très fort pour l'Europe. Je voudrais ici rappeler les chiffres. L'édition 2018-2019 a touché 900 000 spectateurs, 35 000 au cinéma et 840 000 en ligne, grâce au film de moi. Pour nous, pour la Commission, grâce aux instruments que nous avons, l'Europe créative et l'innovation, je tiens encore une fois à vous dire merci des opportunités que vous nous donnez, qui, grâce à la technologie numérique, nous espérons tous se transformera en une nouvelle formule qui va toucher les cœurs et les raisons d'encore plus d'Européens. Donc, je voudrais ici remercier encore une fois le Parlement européen. Je voudrais remercier Sabine Verheyen, la présidente de la Commission Culture, mais aussi Doris Pack, une grande fervente de ce prix Luxe, pour l'énergie, pour l'engagement, pour le soutien infaillible en période difficile et pas tellement pour ce prix. Et je voudrais finir avec une citation de Jean Cocteau qui disait « Le cinéma, c'est l'écriture moderne dont l'encre est la lumière ». Merci Lux Prize, merci la Mostra d'être l'une des plus belles lumières européennes.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you for your personal support, but also the support of the European Commission. Your enthusiasm was shared in this room. I think everybody understood at least the tone of your message. I'm sorry that probably the translation from French was not provided in your devices. And now we move to the people that are actually here on stage with us, the people that traveled to Venice, and we will start with Sabine Verheyen. So Sabine Verheyen is the chair of the Committee on Culture and Education of the European Parliament. Mrs. Verheyen, thank you for being here. We know that you are very busy, like probably most of us, but it's always great to have political support here in a festival place, in a cinema place, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. I'm quite honored to speak here to you today in my position as chair of the Committee on Culture and Education of the European Parliament about the new Lux Prize. It is a pleasure to be here together with the European Film Academy, represented by its chairman, Mike Downey, to whom I will give the floor, you will give the floor, I think, afterwards, and Marion Döring, the director since 1996, sorry, not as long. I'm quite happy to have you here as a very strong partner. I'm happy also to be sitting here with Claude-Éric Poirou, Secretary General of the European Cinemas, and to see Fatima Djoumé in the audience. I saw her earlier. Yeah, there she is. Who has put tireless energy in strengthening the biggest and most important network of cinemas focusing on European films for more than 25 years. You are also a very strong partner to the Lux Film Prize. I warmly thank the European Commission and Commissioner Maria Gabriel for taking part in this important launching event of the new venture between the European Parliament and the European Commission in such difficult times for the audiovisual film environment. I think we are facing a crisis that hit especially this sector harder than some others. Last but not least, I would like to warmly welcome Doris Pack, also here, who has never given up, paving the path for this new Lux Prize, negotiating with partners, with politicians, overcoming difficulties and turbulences, listening and mediating to find a common ground among so many diverse ideas and needs. And you are really working hard on this, and thank you for this engagement. It's not very often that you find politicians who do this also longer than they have their mandate, and thank you very much for that. We should not underestimate the valuable contribution to the many colleagues of the Committee on Culture and Education of the European Parliament and the Vice President of our institution developing this new award. And I'm happy that we have Florence Farrin as member of the Cult Committee also with us. Nor can we forget the precious advice of the many cultural and cinematic partners who have been working side by side with us during all the years. I would like to take the opportunity to thank the Mostra del Cinema of Biennale di Venezia, the Venice Production Bridge and Giornate degli Autori for allowing us to present our new award here at this fabulous and prestigious festival that is the first after the Berlinale that takes place also physically. I'm honored to introduce the new Lux Award today here at the first international festival that is taking place physically. And after so many months of restrictions, it is a special opportunity for us to have this also a hybrid event, because we have also people coming from outside who are not here or cannot be here due to travel restrictions. And I think it's the modern way of communicating, and that's a big possibility to make such events happen. Of course, we are still in a very precarious situation, but I'm happy that we could gather here today, setting a sign that we have not forgotten the cultural and creative sector and not forgotten our cinemas. Nonetheless, consequences of the coronavirus are already noticeable and surely will be over the next couple of months, if not years. The virus has impacted the cultural and creative sector strongly, and we have to take concrete actions to counteract this impact. In my role as chair of the Cultural Committee, I want to ensure that the cultural and cinema sector will be able to continue to exist and hopefully grow against all odds created by the pandemic. We are here today to launch a new project that can only be successful with the strong participation of the European people. It can only be a success when enough people choose to want European content and will do so going back to cinemas. Before I will introduce the key points of the new Lux Award, allow me to show where we come from, because the Lux Prize has been evolving steadily since its inception 30 years ago. I will do it quite short because I know Doris is with us and she can do this much better. But it was always been a pioneer and innovative project of the European Parliament in building bridges between sectors that sometimes use different languages. And what we experienced also in the past is that we have to find a common language, that we have, if we want to be strong, we have to pull on the same side of the rope. Lux has helped crossing the path between our political activity and the creators and authors in Europe, emphasizing the need and importance of keeping a constant dialogue. It has shed a light on our daily activities in the Parliament with a different language, which is powerful because it goes beyond the legal and bureaucratic terminology. We should bear in mind that culture and cinemas as a culture mass medium are very much about better understanding each other and being open for dialogue. Until now, Lux Filmography has emotionally echoed our political work on environment, migration, fighting poverty and inequalities, as well as on democracy and pluralism. It is our way to celebrate European cinematic narratives and storytellers, our creative industries, and the cinematic assets of such a diverse continent. However, to do so in a political institution like the European Parliament has been incredibly challenging. Organizing simultaneous screening of films across 27 countries in 24 languages, as we did, has been innovative and unique, not always easy, but always worth it. And we will keep on working for the award. So far, the message of the Lux Prize was the European Parliament is committed to culture. And we can be proud of this achievement because it's the core and the soul of our Europe. Now we will continue this work with strong and amazing partners and take the award a step further. From now on, we want to share our journey with new partners. We want to share our Lux Prize with more and more Europeans. We want the European citizens to be a part of the award and vote with us on the films. We also want to share a larger variety of films with the audience. We are excited to share our commitment and passion for European culture with more people than before. We are here today to present with partners like European Film Academy, Europa Cinemas, and with the help of Creative Europe, a new and truly pan-European audience award. The award will have a new title. It is quite long, but it will include all the partners from now on. It will be Lux, the European Audience Film Award by the European Parliament and the European Film Academy, in partnership with the European Commission and Europa Cinemas. We will also have a changed timetable for the award now. After presenting the main lines of the award here in Venice, the next step will be in Reykjavik. At the European Films Award, there the films running for the Lux European Audience Award will be unveiled in the EFA ceremony. Afterwards, screenings everywhere in Europe will start with the paramount contribution of the cinemas and theaters of Europe cinemas and with the help of the European Commission. This watch and vote phase that will include simultaneous events and the Lux Film Week will last until April. Finally, the winning film will be unveiled at a ceremony in the plenary of the European Parliament. So far, only members of the European Parliament were entitled to vote for the winning films. With the new award, the winner will be selected based on votes from MEPs and the public. And that includes the people more than ever. And in times where people want to take part in decision processes, I think it's the right sign also for cinema to include the audience in the choice of such an award. This way, we will hopefully be able to interest more Europeans for European films. There's also a change in the number of films. It will be 5 films instead of 3, but not this year. Due to the impact of COVID on the film industry market and the number of films available and running for the award in the first edition, it will be exceptionally 3, like it was in the past. The films will be selected by a panel of film professionals, artists, directors of festivals, distributors, exhibitors, and partners, and many of them are here with us today. And I also have the honor to announce that the honorary president of the Lux jury will be Mike Downey. I'm very happy that the chairman of the European Film Academy will take over this very important task. Dear friends, we know that the first year of this new award will not be easy. There are unknowns and even more unpredictable possibilities than usual. COVID has had and still has an impact on all aspects of our lives. But there is no time machine that can lead us back to the pre-COVID-19 times. I therefore sincerely hope that we will come together in building a stronger sense of community and belonging in defending cinema and culture. The current situation is also a possibility to have a more regular and closer dialogue from now on, and I promise that we as Cult Committee will actively participate in giving a new breath to culture and cinema. My wish is that we will find a new sense of sharing emotions, tears, and laughs in the bright darkness of a cinema theater. I invite all of you to follow this new Lux Award and to be part of it. And now I gladly give the word back to you, and I think Mike Downey will be the next. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Verheyen. And since you were stressing on the importance of the energy and the battles that Doris Pack here present did over time, I also want to thank you for the battle that you are also fighting at the Parliament for the budget for culture. I mean, you are known for that, you have a lot of energy dedicated to that, and God knows, we all know here how important it is in those stressful times, in these doubtful times. Do you have a word to say about the future of European funding for films?
If I would have a glass cube, it would be nice to take a look into, because we are in the negotiations at the moment as Parliament, together with the Council. And it will all depend on if the Council is willing to go a step forward the Parliament, which is asking for a higher budget for the Creative Europe program, but also for an earmarking of a 1% share of the Next Generation Recovery Fund for the cultural sector. The cultural sector is worth 4.2% of the GDP of our economies in Europe. And to ask for 1% of the recovery fund, I think is not too much. We are very careful in asking more, but because we know it will be difficult to get anything out of that, because the member states want to decide where to spend the money. And my trust in member states that when they get the money out of the fund, they will also invest in culture and cinema and creativity is not quite high. So we want to have an earmark for culture so that the member states get a guideline that also this sector is important. Thinking about that the sector has more than 2.5 times more GDP and employees than the automotive sector, with nearly 8 million people working in the sector, and even most of them young people. I think we have to get a better awareness to the whole cultural and creative sector.
Thank you. So our next speaker was already introduced, but I introduce him again. He doesn't need any introduction, by the way, but I will still do it. Mike Downey, Chairman of the European Film Academy. Mrs. Downey, you have also a few words for us. Take it away.
Thank you, Dominic. And thank you, Sabine Verheyen, for your very wise and encouraging words. Thank you. Cher Maria Gabrielle, if you're still with us. Cher Claude Eric, Cher Fatima, verehrte Doris Pack, verehrte Marion Döring, distinguished representatives from the European Parliament and European Commission, fellow filmmakers, colleagues and friends. Indeed, we are here to announce the merging of two awards, the Lux Prize and the EFA People's Choice Award. And we're not only merging two established awards to turn them into an even stronger new one, we're also joining forces. The European Film Academy, the European Parliament, the European Commission and Europa Cinemas are important supporters and defenders of the European film industry and its culture. And you did say it, dear Sabine, there is no time machine that can lead us back to the pre-COVID-19 days. And while I'm touching on that subject, I'd just like to thank Alberto Barbera and the president of the Biennale, Roberto Cicuto, our longtime board member of the Academy, for giving us this space, this safe space, for allowing us to start again to make our baby steps back to some kind of normality. It's very important that we've been given this space, and I just really wanted to recognize them for a second. We've been talking about this merger for quite a while now. There have been many discussions going on between the partners as to how to shape it, how to name it, how to make many vital decisions with regard to it. So yes, indeed, there probably could have been a better time to start our cooperation, but by the same token, well, perhaps there could not have been a more appropriate moment to join forces. I don't believe in coincidences. What may look like a coincidence, in reality, is, for the most time, the result of a number of prior developments. I'm therefore convinced that it's no coincidence that our common journey through the troubled COVID and hopefully soon post-COVID landscape of European cinema is starting here today in Venice on the Lido with you all. As a filmmaker myself, who's made nearly 100 movies now in my comparatively short 20-year-long career at the coalface of film production, these films have won upwards of 250 awards in themselves. I sort of see it from the other side as well. I'm not like that grim reaper of the European New Wave who said, "My films are not racehorses." No. Awards are crucial to what we do. Awards are motivational tools that keep us going in the dark days when no one is watching. Besides being a mark of excellence, awards help to boost our morale and help the artist to fight harder, achieve bigger, greater accomplishments. Awards help and encourage us to give our best, to express empowerment and take sometimes thoughtful risk, alongside the promotional positioning and distribution effect that they can have. And of all the awards that exist, nothing gives a filmmaker more joy, more intensity of pleasure, more satisfaction than receiving an award from the public. This represents the ultimate accolade. So it's my great pleasure to serve in this valuable mission as the honorary president of the Lux European Audience Award jury, and I promise that we shall do our best to come up with nominations which will reflect the beauty and diversity of our cinema, which will have strong and appealing stories, I hope, to tell to audiences across the continent. We recognize the importance of critics and experts, but equally we recognize the ability of the audience to be an honest and genuine litmus test of the so many possibilities for cinema, and for European cinema in particular, into which it's so very important at the moment to breathe some life, to breathe some hope, to breathe some humanity back into the lives of people, both in front and behind the camera, in the audience, in the industry, who've suffered so much in recent times. Good films can animate like oxygen, and we need, indeed, a lot of oxygen in these times, not only because, as I see in front of me, you are all breathing most of the day behind masks, but even more so because we have, as a community of Europeans, still many mountains to climb, obstacles to overcome, and overcome them together we shall. I wish the Lux European Audience Film Award a safe journey, and good luck to all of us in this important new endeavor.
Thank you, Mike Doney. And I have a question for you. You're a man of challenges. You mentioned production, filmmaking. You also started festivals. You served as an artistic director as well. You're involved with the European Film Awards and Academy. And you mentioned also mountains to climb, so obstacles. With this new award, this revamped version of the award, what would you say is the major obstacle that stimulated you and that wanted you to get involved and to overcome it?
I mean, as I said before, we have been discussing this issue for a long time, a number of years, and it is a complex and difficult issue to get our head around. One of the key issues with it, for me, is that we kind of democratize the whole thing a lot more, and that we bring the idea of the Lux Prize and the People's Choice Award together. And in a way, hopefully, that will create a sense of quality, a sense of rewarding quality of art, film, and of art at the highest level, but also linking it up to an audience and giving it validation by the audience's validation, and not just by, you know, a small select group of experts who are kind of making a selection which, you know, one perhaps would normally find at a festival or something like that. Hopefully this opens it up a lot more to a broader, dare I say it, even kind of commercially driven sort of area as well, to make the selection more diverse and more eclectic and more relevant to the audience, I think.
Thank you, and it's important to remember that the films will be shown to the public, of course, during a window of time of 4 months and a half, more or less, where they will be able to vote through the Europa Cinema network, online. There will be a lot of opportunities, also representation in festivals, like here, even though this festival is not happening during that window, but there will be partnerships with other events, like it was the case in the past. So it's really this revamped version of the award is building up on everything that has been learned, the lessons from the past, and also a lot of success stories. Now we move to Claude-Éric Poiroux. Claude-Éric is General Director of Europa Cinemas. And Claude-Éric, you wanted to tell us a little bit about the collaboration that didn't start today and has been ongoing for quite a while now.
Merci. Voilà. Merci, et je voudrais saluer Madame Verheyen et remercier son action, celle aussi de Doris Pack, depuis plusieurs années à nos côtés. Et puis, je voudrais aussi saluer Luciana Castellina, parce que je pense qu'elle a été essentielle pour le démarrage aussi du programme Média, et nous étions avec elle au début de ce programme. Et je pense que 30 ans plus tard, nous sommes heureux d'être ici, parmi vous, pour représenter à la fois, je dirais, 1000 professionnels à peu près, qui sont des dirigeants de cinéma ou des programmateurs de cinéma, qui viennent de 700 villes en Europe, donc qui sont implantés, profondément enracinés, et qui ont le contact avec le public. Voilà. Donc, c'était la première étape de notre partenariat avec Lux Prize.
So Claude-Éric is first thanking all the partners here on stage, but also in the audience, mentioning also the presence of Luciana Castellina, which was a key player and still is a key player in everything European and in the creation of the media program. Then Claude-Éric is also renewing all the support of these 1,000 more or less professionals that are working in cinemas, that are providing the films to the audience. And it represents, what, 700, you said?
Yes, 700 cities.
700 cities in Europe. So this was the first step. This is the ground base of the collaboration between Europa Cinemas and Lux.
Nous sommes depuis donc l'origine dans le comité d'experts aux côtés des parlementaires. Et donc nous participons à cette décision collective de choisir plusieurs films, puis 3 films, puis un film, qui aura le prix Lux. Et donc ça, c'est cette première étape de collaboration professionnelle qui précède la suivante, celle où nous sommes des partenaires en direction de l'audience.
Europa Cinema is involved since the beginning in the selection of the films, so in the selection committee, right next to MEPs, so member of the European Parliament, but also other professionals from different professions that are linked to the value chain of European cinema. This is also an important element of what Europa Cinema has to bring to the table and share with the different partners.
Et là, nous sommes vraiment très heureux d'être vos partenaires parce que nous sommes des relais, des liens avec le public. Nous sommes très heureux, à côté de European Film Academy, Mike Downey, de pouvoir montrer les films des réalisateurs européens, de les montrer au public. Et je pense que le réseau Europa Cinéma, aujourd'hui avec ses presque 30 ans, son soutien indéfectible de la Commission européenne, merci à cette politique, qui est une politique qui a été très construite, très constante et progressive. Aujourd'hui, je pense que nous représentons pour les réalisateurs de European Film Academy, nous représentons une forme de proximité avec le public.
Europa Cinema's network has built over 30 years, almost 30 years now. And it's an important element of proximity with the audience. It is the final link between the films, between also the European Film Academy, those directors, those movie makers, people are making them, and people that are watching them in cinemas. Claude-Éric wants also to thank the important support and the policy of the European Commission since the beginning. This support, and not only financial, I mean, it's something more of a also ideological support, helped Europa Cinema to become what it is today, and also to be involved in those great initiatives like the one of Lux.
Et nous comptons évidemment sur le soutien du Parlement, on le sait depuis l'origine, à nos côtés aussi, pour le futur budget de Creative Europe, qui est essentiel pour l'existence de ce cinéma et du réseau Europa Cinéma que je représente. Je voulais dire une chose qui est importante, c'est que dans nos salles, il y a 6 séances sur 10 qui sont consacrées aux films européens. Et quand on voit la liste des films qui ont obtenu le prix Lux, il y a des films allemands, des films français, des films italiens, des films islandais. Le dernier film dont parlait Madame Gabriel tout à l'heure, c'est un film macédonien. Voilà quand même des films aujourd'hui qui peuvent aller jusqu'au public grâce à ces salles, grâce aussi au sous-titrage. Et bravo aussi pour le travail que vous faites, parce que sous-titrer, c'est la façon de s'approcher. Et je pense aujourd'hui que tous ces travaux ensemble que nous faisons vont vers le public. Et je crois que c'est la dimension de ce nouveau prix que nous relançons ensemble aujourd'hui, c'est effectivement d'impliquer encore plus les spectateurs européens.
So Claude-Éric also thanks the European Parliament for the support. He is hoping for the support of the European Parliament, so not only the Commission. And he wants to stress on the fact that in the network, in the Europa Cinema network, 6 out of 10 films are European. And that's quite a commitment when you know today the landscape of exhibition. And Europa Cinema is also stressing on the fact that subtitling in the different language of the EU, which is one of the perks that come with the award, with the Lux Award, is also very important to be able to show those films to those countries where sometimes they don't have access to because they don't have the right language. Europe is about diversity, it's a lot of languages, and one of the prizes is also this, so it's not small. He also reminds us that there's a great diversity in the films that were awarded over the years. The last film awarded was Macedonian, but the Lux also awarded Italian films, Icelandic films. I mean, basically films all over the European landscape.
notre rôle concret dans le passé, mais encore plus dans les prochains mois avec ce nouveau prix Lux, c'est de pouvoir montrer dans nos salles, effectivement, la sélection des films qui sont proposés. Alors, depuis de nombreuses années, plusieurs de nos salles, chaque année, présentent ces films au public. Donc ça continuera, ça se développera. Et nous allons développer aussi notre rôle pour permettre au public, au travers de nos salles, mais pas que, parce que vous disiez, Madame Verheyen, tout à l'heure aussi, avec Internet, au public de voter. Donc nous allons être aussi des relais par nos réseaux sociaux. On est, comme je vous disais, très implantés, très proche du public, donc on peut communiquer avec lui et donc permettre au public d'être concerné par cette invitation à voter pour les films, à les voir et ensuite à les distinguer par un prix.
So Europa Cinema is not only a relay partner in the sense that the screens are showing the films to the audience, but they can also play a part in communicating the fact that people can vote. So people can vote through the Europa Cinema network, through the screening rooms, through the cinemas, and also, of course, on the internet. So it's really important to stress on the fact that those are active partners. They are not sponsors. They play a key role, a key part in what this prize is about.
Un dernier mot sur notre partenariat avec le Parlement, parce qu'il s'est enrichi depuis plusieurs années d'une manifestation qui ne se déroule qu'à Venise, c'est 27 Times Cinéma. On est très heureux d'être à vos côtés. Nous permettons de réunir 300 candidatures de jeunes spectateurs entre 18 et 25 ans qui, au travers de nos salles, deviennent candidats pour être choisis par Giornate degli Autori et par le Parlement, d'être choisis pour être ici pendant une semaine. C'est un luxe formidable. Pendant une semaine, ils voient les films, ils sont ensemble, ils voient les films en présence des réalisateurs, ils vont voter, c'est eux qui vont donner le prix. Cette année, c'est Nadav Lapid, le réalisateur israélien, qui est leur mentor. Et donc, ce sont des jeunes qui, aujourd'hui, c'est aussi le futur, je dirais, du cinéma. J'ai d'ailleurs eu à Europa Cinéma des jeunes de ces 28 cinémas qui sont venus stagiaires à Europa Cinéma, peut-être des futurs professionnels, mais en tous les cas, ce sont des gens qui écrivent, qui propagent et qui parlent des films qui sont présentés ici. Donc on est partenaire de cette initiative, on est très heureux d'en être, et on est très heureux aussi de ce qui se passe avec aussi le jeune public. Parce qu'on parlait du public, mais je pense que le véritable enjeu des années qui viennent, c'est effectivement le jeune public. Le jeune public qui doit aimer le cinéma en salle, qui l'aime d'ailleurs, moi je suis optimiste, mais qui sont aussi attirés par bien d'autres possibilités de voir des films. Donc je pense qu'il faut les attirer là où ils sont, dans nos salles, mais aussi quand ils regardent Internet. Je pense qu'il faut que le cinéma européen puisse être proche d'eux et les amener pour être ensemble au cinéma. C'est notre objectif en tous les cas à Europa Cinéma.
One of the, we'll upload later, I have to translate first. One of the key stakes of bringing back the audience to the cinema is reaching out to the young audience. And an initiative from Lux, but also from Europa Cinema and Giornate degli Autori here in Venice is 27 times, former 28 times cinema, and now 27 times cinema, sadly. I mean, maybe it costs a bit less now, but to bring 27 youngsters from all the member states of the EU here in Venice and have them watch the films, participate in conversations with filmmaker, and also vote, give an award, an audience award of the Giornate degli Autori, and being in touch, not only being in touch with those youngsters, but also recruiting them, because the recruitment is done through the Europa Cinema network, so it's a proximity recruitment. You mentioned that you had 300 applications this year, so 27 out of 300 were selected, And they are selected on specific criteria too. Of course, they have to love European cinema, to be passionate by it, but also to have a voice. And their voice as influencers will count, because from here, from Venice, they are blogging, they are doing podcasts, they are taking pictures, they are spreading information on social networks. And it's a great marketing tool to have such an initiative. And Claude Eric is very proud of being part of it.
Merci Domenico pour la traduction.
Thank you, Domenico, for the translation. I want also to ask you about the participation of Europa Cinema, because we mentioned that Europa Cinema is not just a network, just not a facilitator, it's also an active player, and you are participating, not you, but your collaborator, Fatima Jumer, that is just here, you are participating to the selection panel. Can you tell us, like, why did you insist to be part of this selection panel, and is Europa Cinema as itself also has a voice as a curator for films?
Disons que je voudrais aussi saluer Fatima, parce que c'est effectivement un membre très actif d'Europa Cinema et aussi du comité d'experts. Je voulais dire aujourd'hui que ce qui représente ce que nous faisons tous, ce qui est notre objectif, c'est de représenter la diversité. Et je pense que l'importance qu'a eu depuis le programme Média, qu'a eu l'action de la Commission et du Parlement, c'est précisément d'aller au plus près des citoyens. Et je pense aujourd'hui que cette diversité, elle est dans les films. Il y a 1500 longs métrages produits en Europe chaque année. C'est le plus grand continent producteur de films. C'est une diversité formidable et qui est peut-être un peu trop large pour la capacité de diffusion. Mais c'est là que je pense qu'on est important, avec les directeurs de festivals, avec les distributeurs, avec aussi des journalistes comme toi. On est là pour les chercher, les montrer, les deviner, montrer aussi qu'il y a une compétition, il y a une qualité à rechercher. Et c'est un jeu qui en vaut la peine, parce que le cinéma mérite toujours le meilleur. Donc on est là aussi pour cette recherche de qualité et cette diversité auquel on tient.
So European cinema is also about diversity. There are 1,500, even a bit more last year, films that are produced in Europe, and there's not enough screens to see them all. And the role also, thanks to the European Commission, thanks to the media program of those initiatives, is also to go as close as possible from the audience and share the films, share this diversity, this local almost diversity of films with the audience. But it's also a competition. Not all films are equals, not all films are alike, but they all deserve to be shown. So picking up the right candidates, having a say on which film should be seen by people that usually don't spot them is also a great task, and something that Europa Cinemas in this initiative is very proud to lead. Thank you. So last but not least, I'm sorry, Doris, you're last, but it's a great pleasure for me that year after year, Doris Pack, Lux Coordinator, this is how you are called now, Lux Coordinator, that's a nice title to have on a business card. Doris, we know and love your love for European films, your passion for cinema. You're also a tremendous politician. You were former chair of the Cult Committee yourself. Great energy was saluted before. Can you tell us how it all started? Because it started with you and your intuition that you could connect the European Parliament with European audiovisual and cinema.
Thank you very much. It was not an easy task, and I was not the first one. It was a French colleague who had this idea, but he found in me a collaborator from the early beginning, and I was sensibilized by the man whose photo you see everywhere, by Wim Wenders, who in a very interesting meeting in Berlin was telling the audience, please tell European stories, not American stories. And then I asked, how can we do it? European films, you cannot see them. I do not understand Estonian, I do not understand Portuguese, and some others I understand. But how can we do it? How can we show really the diversity and even things which are in common, but which are addressed perhaps in different ways? So I think this was the idea which really sensibilized me, and I was happy to be from the early beginning with this pre-looks, and therefore when I left the parliament after 25 years in 2014, I have been asked, can you not be in favor a little bit? And they told me, you make it pro bono coordinator. So I am still. But I have to contradict a little bit the nice president of EFA. He said, now we want to make it democratic. It was democratic. It was the highest jury ever. It was a European Parliament which had to vote. So don't make a distance between democratic and democratic. I understand what you mean. Let me tell you now. I understand what you mean, and I think what we reach now is great, and what we wanted always. But it is easy. We couldn't do it alone. Therefore, we tried very soon, at least in the 10 years ago, we tried to get what we have now. So it was not easy, but you have to understand the European parliamentarians, they are not all lovers of cinema. And the problem is that this money for the pre-looks is not coming from the Commission, it's not coming from heaven, it comes from the communication budget for the European Parliament, which means which we can pay some books, we can pay some stilos, we can pay some papers. So, and yet we said, okay, we have a new tool of this new time. We have film, and with this film, with the different topics, we can reach much more people. But we had the idea that the colleagues would make use of it, as Sabine did as soon as she entered the parliament. We said they make use, they're going with the films and get an audience. You know, if you invite, as a parliamentarian, people to come and to speak with you in Europe, it's not very amazing, I think, but it's always a little bit difficult because people know that we are in favor of, so it is not the question. But we invite them to see a film done in Estonia or in Macedonia or North Macedonia today, or wherever. So I think this is something when we invite them and we are present, that is something which is important. Then we can discuss the topic, the solution, or even the non-solution. I think I just give you one example. We had one film as winner. It was Welcome. You remember this very good film from the French regisseur, who was a young Afghan coming from Iran, and he wanted to go to London, and he ended in Calais. This was a film in the highest difficult time of migration discussions. And this film was shown in the Assemblée Nationale. And it opened the eyes of a lot of colleagues. So I think with films we can do a lot of, understanding, European understanding. I give you one example. I myself have always, I went always with the films in different schools. I asked the teacher, what is your subject? Do you want to speak on migration? Do you want to speak on climate? And we used the films which are a little bit in this direction. And this opens the eyes, not only of the teachers, but also of them, but of the kids. And it gives them really a chance to live being a European. And therefore, I think we had this audience of parliamentarians which were voting. And I think we want to open it. And I was in close connection with Wim Weber's, good friend, Mrs. Mein Gott, with you. Sometimes it happens, yeah, okay. And I think we had the idea to use your film, which is, a film which should be voted in different countries in Europe, as an example, and we should join our forces. It was not easy, you can imagine, it was difficult. And at the end I said we should also take the Commission on our side, because we are not part of the media program, but we are not contradicting. We want only to show that we are, close, as parliamentarians, close to our voters, close to the people. And then I think this idea of widening our audience was really incredible. We had a little bit widen the audience. We had this possibility to vote, but it was at least not really an award. Giving just one idea, listen, we don't give any money to this film, who is a winner at the end, or to the 3 films, which are all subtitled in 24 languages. But we give these prizes with subtitling, which gives a chance to be seen everywhere. And the winner, the so-called winner, all 3 are winners, but the winner at the end will get at least also its film, the winner film, in a method for blind people. You understand what I mean? It's incredible. This is something which we have found out, that this is something that blind people have no chance to see all the films we can show. And so we have to make this possible. And this is one of the good things of the pre-looks. That was what I wanted to say. It's enough.
It's never enough, but... So mentioning great energy before, now you just got a display of what it means. Thank you, Doris, also for remembering the audience that it used to be the Lux Prize. It's the Lux Award now. It doesn't mean that there's no prize anymore. Of course, there's no money, as you just said. You want to say something?
No, I want to say Lux doesn't mean Luxembourg, huh?
Okay.
It means lux, lumen, it is Italian, it is Latin. Huh?
If it meant Luxembourg, there would be more money involved.
Yeah.
But yes, there's still a prize. We mentioned it, like the film will be subtitled in all the language of the European Union, plus a bonus one, the language they speak in the UK. So 14 languages, but also great visibility.
24 languages.
24, yes.
Not 14.
I said 14, no, sorry, 24, of course. Also, a lot of visibility through the media partners, through the festivals, through the communication of the parliament, because, you know, those films end up in the official communication of the European Commission and European Parliament. I mean, something that usually you don't find there. And the ceremony also takes place in the European Parliament.
Yes, I wanted to say. The ceremony still takes place, the award ceremony takes place in the European Parliament. We stick to it because some people said, no, we want to get it, Eva, you remember? No, we didn't, because we spoke a lot with the regisseurs, with the people who made the films, who got the prize. And they told us, please, keep this ceremony. It brings us in the middle of the European Union, in the middle of the Parliament, which is in the middle of democracy. Thanks.
And by saying EFA, she means Mario Göring, which is present here. And you were starting with Wim Wenders, but in a way the circle is complete now because Wim Wenders is also very involved with the European Film Academy. He's the president, honorary president of the European Film Academy. So in a way you started with him and now both sides have touched, so it's also a great achievement.
Yeah, and I just want to say it was the Commissioner Barroso who was involved with EFA, creating this European Film Academy. And I can tell you the next commissioner, Mrs. Gabriel, was very much interested because she was a European parliamentarian and very much helpful to get it through. And then when she became commissioner, she was really helping me and tried to help me to make it a common approach. And now she has at least the result. We all have the result of this long working. It was not easy, but she is really on our sides, and I'm very happy that my predecessor, Luciana Castellina, is with us. She sees what she has given, how to say, was heißt sehen, to see what she said at the beginning of the 90s, and I think you are very proud with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Doris. Thank you, Luciana. So as I was saying before, those are acting partners. I hope that now you realize that. It means that you had discussions, you were mentioning some with the European Film Academy, but all together you had discussions. Would you say that those discussions are not only about the Lux, but they also are about a lot of other topics, European topics, topics that are linked to culture, to cinema, and it strengthened the bond between partners that usually don't really talk to each other. So is anyone here wants to talk about that? Mike?
I think we talk about a wide range of things whenever we meet, but you know, I don't think you can have a meeting about European cinema and not talk about, for example, as Claude Eric says, you know, the 1,500 films more, let's say, this year, and the sustainability of 1,500 films in the current marketplace. Would we perhaps like a few fewer films and a planet to make them on? This could be also, and has been a subject, and is very much a discussion subject that we have within the Academy with regard to the, you know, to the, we talk a lot about gender balance within this whole subject area. We talk a lot about human rights within this subject area, obviously not imposing or impinging on any creative decisions, but as part of that, as you were saying, Sabina, that general sense of the whole environment that we have to take into account. I think this is really important, and to return to Doris's you know, idea of the democratization of the democracy of the thing. I think we should look to this idea of democratization as a way of improving our audience development, let's say. And I think that this kind of coming together of these two, of the two prizes and the group together, we're much stronger to create a sense of audience development and to grow the audience for these films, and maybe to grow an audience for slightly fewer of these films, so that we do have a planet, a gender-balanced planet, possibly, to make them on.
Anyone wants to add something to that, Sabina?
I think coming on an important point, how to raise the audience. I think it's also important to go actively towards young people, because the way young people consume content is slightly different to what we were used to do it. And if we want to reach out, we have to reach out to them with stories they are attached by, where they feel addicted to a story, where they feel also part of it. And I think that's important also with the new Lux Prize, where they can be part of a decision-taking process. I think for them it's always important. I saw that with all the things we had on climate change, the protests, we had the activity. We have a very strong politicized youth, meanwhile, in Europe. And we need to include them in the discussion on this type of content of new cinema. And I think that's also a way with the new Lux Prize to include them in such a discussion, and also a decision process through the new award, where they can really take part and are not just consuming.
Absolutely. And just to follow up briefly on that, I mean, for us, for the Academy, it links in with our other audience development with regard to education, our Young Audience Award, which is a very large and very influential award, which is given every year. It's an event which takes place in, I think, 56 cities now worldwide. Is that correct? Yeah, and it is very influential in the growing of a young audience, in the education of a young audience, and alongside that, our European Film Academy Universities Award as well kind of is the next part in the chain of that. So hopefully we can all build this thing into a wider education and audience development asset, let's say.
So culture, education, politics, cinema, and audience, I think it's a terrific cocktail, and this is all encompassed in this award, something that I don't think exists anywhere else but in Europe. So I want to thank all the intervenants here. I want to thank you in the audience as well. I will open the floor for questions. But first of all, I mean, we have been applauding each of the participants here, but I think that behind any shining thing, behind any shining lux, to take the etymology of the term, so not behind any Luxembourg, but Lux Award. There are people that are working in the dark, in the shadow. There are coordinators. There are people that are making this thing happen. Things run smoothly, even when there are delays and speakers before that speak too much and stuff like that, like today. So I really want to thank the dynamic duo, as I like to call them, Marisela Rossetti and Jindrik Petras. You are really the hands of that award, and we know it, but it's also good that you in the audience today know about it as well. So the intervenant here will be also available to meet after this, but if you have questions, the floor is open now. We were very clear. Maybe not me, but they were. All right, so thank you. Thank you again for being here. Thank you to La Mostra to have this venue, to be able to communicate on such an initiative at the international level. So long life to Lux, long life to European cinema, and long life to you all. Thank you.